Hi, I'm Dean Sage.
And I'm Jack Hervin.
And this is Show Me Your Deck,
a podcast where we explore the intersections of oracles and chakras,
using our original decks to create new insights. All right, here we are with episode 62.
62, here we go. Almost getting to the speed limit.
Oh, that's true. Well, I mean, depending on where you are. For some reason, 95 in the Philly area is 55, and nobody goes 55.
I think when they bother to put up a sign that says 55, it's more like a suggestion. Nobody actually does 55.
I mean, the cops sit by the airport, and we go by them going 75. Like we slow down from 80. Like we back off 80. But like they're just watching people speed right by them, and there's just no reaction. I don't know what triggers them. Like weaving like 90. I don't know what they respond to.
Out of state plates.
No, I have out of state plates.
I don't know then.
Yeah.
In Virginia, they're looking for out of state plates.
So that's it's definitely a suggestion up here. Also, it's ridiculous. 55 is ridiculous in a modern age. Like it makes no sense. There's a loop off of 95 that's 65, but they put the digital signs on. I hate the digital signs because then they get creative. Like on 76, which goes from King of Prussia to Philadelphia and then over into Jersey. They're like, today it's 35. And we're like, what are you talking about?
What? They're trying to manage the flow of traffic live.
Yeah. And every curve has a different speed limit. I'm like, no.
Bureaucracy gone amok.
And usually it's backed up anyway. So I'm like, I don't know why you put a speed limit. Like we're going 10. Like what did the 35 is it? No, what is that? What does that even mean? We're going 10 miles an hour. We're bumper to bumper here for 45 minutes going on the Schuylkill Expressway.
Express.
Yeah, very express. They need to build another freeway on top of it so that we can have like a one direction flow, because it's like 2 lanes and all of this traffic has to go down 2 lanes for like 10 miles. And it's crazy. Yeah,
that doesn't sound like something I want to mess with. We've got it bad enough in Charlotte.
Yeah. All right, let's roll some tetrahedrons and see what our speed limit is.
Okay, the tetrahedron of doom calls for deck number 1. We're going to start sassy.
Ooh.
And we're going to get card number 7.
Oh, we're going slow. Okay.
That's going to be the Earth meets
Crown.
But sassy, which is... Oh, we haven't had this before, I don't think. Or maybe we have, but it's been a long time. Perform unexpected miracles. Support a charity. Create a perpetual gift. Leave a kind legacy. Perform unexpected miracles. Support a charity. Create a perpetual gift. Leave a kind legacy.
I like the perpetual gift part. Like, if I won the lottery, like I think I would try to set something up that would like accrue money so that it could give money. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yep. So that the charity in question lives off of the growth, the gains.
Yeah. We've talked about generativity here on our podcast before, and neither of us is going to have children. So it's kind of like what lives on after you. I think that would be something really nice.
Well, as a contextualizing card for the entire reading, I'm seeing this as a reminder to be mindful of the way in which your footprints remain behind you. So for the next 4 cards, we're going to have new reminders and suggestions coming up, but the context is going to be when you consider these suggestions, it's not just for now, it's for the future when you're no longer here and yet still active, because that's what a legacy does. It allows you to be active even when you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's the trace of you that stays behind. So although the pharaohs' bodies aren't in those pyramids, the pyramids still remain. We know about those pharaohs. They've inspired all sorts of greatness in other people because of the legacy of this ambitious build. You know, they didn't necessarily serve the purpose that the pharaohs had in mind, and yet they are still a magnificent legacy of what humans can accomplish with their science and their math and their cooperative work. They're still magnificent, even if they're not as planned.
That's a good point. What was the read it one more time?
Perform unexpected miracles, support a charity, create a perpetual gift, leave a kind legacy.
Unexpected miracles. Unexpected miracles. That's interesting. That's very interesting. I think either way you wrote it, like I kind of think like all miracles may be unexpected. So I'm curious what drove, like why that turn of phrase? Do you remember?
So with expected miracles, those are the ones you pray for. Those are the ones you're looking for. Those are the ones you request. Those are the ones that happen every Pentecost or, every time you take Eucharist. Unexpected miracles are the ones that you perform just because it's an act of kindness or somebody else, or it comes from quote unquote out of nowhere. And it wasn't something you looked for, and yet you realize the benefit of it once you encounter it.
Okay.
I have received unexpected miracles. I have provided unexpected miracles. It's part of a system of sharing and receiving, not giving and taking, not sacrificing and taking. It's truly giving and receiving.
So unexpected to you, like unexpected to them, right? So you're the way you're phrasing it is that an expected miracle would be something that they prayed for, manifested, whatever their spiritual take is. It's something that they put out into the universe and got back. And then unexpected,
or like even if it's the obvious culmination of a sequence of events, like in A Christmas Carol, when Tiny Tim can walk, that's an expected miracle. You see him being weak and sick and walking around with a crutch. Well, of course, everything's going to reverse around in this miracle. And of course, he'll be able to walk. That's an expected miracle. It's not that it's not a good miracle. It's a great miracle, but it's expected.
Gotcha. So unexpected would be, a surprise, something that they weren't trying to pray for or manifest or...
And didn't even know they needed.
Yeah. Okay.
But as soon as they encounter it, it makes everything better.
Unexpected miracle. I really like that. I think that's, that might even be the show title. There's something interesting in that. And then I like the legacy part because all of that flows forward, right? If you're actively creating unexpected miracles in your life, in your daily life, like that adds up to a legacy.
Yeah. And I guess in some ways this might sound like pay it forward, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to think of it as pay it forward, that works for me. I'm cool with that. What's fun about unexpected miracles is just the authentic surprise, and then the moment of consideration where gratitude floods in. It's like that's what is fun about unexpected miracles. Whether I've received them or given them, it's part of the fun, part of the joy is knowing that you have just experienced an opportunity for gratitude that wasn't planned and is therefore very authentic.
I actually read a very moving Instagram story yesterday that made me cry. Hopefully I won't cry telling you about it. This pizza place, there's this guy working at the pizza place, gets the phone call, and it's a woman. And she's like, "Do you deliver to the shelter, to the women's shelter?" And he's like, "Yeah, we do." He's like, "What can I get you?" And she's like, "Well, what can you get me for $6?" And of course, nothing is the correct answer. But he's like, "Oh, let me check." And then he's like, "I have a special tonight," and it was like 2 pizzas, 2 liter of Pepsi, or it was a meal. And, of course she's just overwhelmed and she's like, yeah, of course I'll take it. And so, he does that and obviously it blesses them in that moment. But then other people at the pizza place sort of started to pick up on this and they would get, I think there was a few shelters in the area, like they would get calls like this and they would suddenly have a family special. Right. And so the woman actually gets back on her feet. She comes to the pizza place and is like, here's $200. I know that those specials didn't exist. Like, I'm not stupid. And they're like, well, no, we can't take this. And she's like, no, pay it forward, basically. So they use that $200 to create a fund that other people then would pay into. And now it's just an active outreach that they do, that when someone's calling from the shelter, they get the family special, and this fund perpetuates it. So that same woman, this is like years later now, is a social worker, and her children come and volunteer at the pizza shop. And then the kid got to make one of the deliveries for the first time. And it was like the full circle.
See, that's an unexpected miracle.
Yeah. And it became a legacy, right? Like just that one act of kindness, right? That one moment. And it's not really sacrifice. Like it wasn't sacrifice. Like the materials probably did cost maybe $6, maybe a little bit more. But by, creating that moment and giving someone the dignity of like paying for it, it just, and now she's a social worker helping other people get out and get on their feet.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. It's everything about this card. That they embodied this card perfectly. That's lovely. I know that coffee shops do that too. And, I personally can't drink coffee because of the caffeine, but I know how comforting it is for people who like coffee. And if someone is without housing and they can go in and get a cup of coffee, and it's a nice gesture. It doesn't fix their life. It doesn't solve their problems, but it might be the gesture that gives them enough stability and hope to make a breakthrough somewhere else. Because this isn't about fixing other people, and it's certainly not about taking responsibility for their problems. It's about creating a space with enough humanity in it that people can stabilize and find their proper way.
And I mean, that's such an important point. And, we've talked on episodes before about the current state of affairs, but there's that ability to kind of access humanity and give that moment of dignity and humanity that it's really powerful. Like you said, it's not, a cup of coffee is not going to fix homelessness, right? Like a $6 pizza party is not going to fix abuse and instability and all those things. But it's a piece, right? It's a start. It's just a little nudge that maybe that's what gets that ball rolling downhill, right? That what gets that stones turning.
Yeah, it is absolutely a spark. A $6 pizza party, okay, fine, or a cup of coffee, whatever. That is not what matters. What matters is the kindness. What matters is the spark that allows the flame to begin burning. And it might be a low burn at first, but at least it's now ignited and can grow over time. And then when they're able to, make their fire burn more brightly, they will probably keep stuff like this in mind. And even if they don't come full circle like at the pizza place, they will in their own way contribute something really positive that would not have existed without the cup of coffee. It would not have existed without the pizza. So it doesn't have, the legacy that you leave doesn't have to be $1 million to the pet shelter. It could be if you're able, but it can be something smaller. Like if you have children, giving them the example of going and working at the pet shelter and just, helping out with whatever they need, or the Salvation Army or whatever. It might just be that your legacy is the habits that are picked up and carried forward by the generations that come after you. Whatever it is, it's for you to figure out. But how do you leave the legacy of kindness?
It's a wonderful focus card for us today. Like a foundation.
Yeah, it feels really good.
I'm curious. I'm gonna pull. I'm curious what's gonna come next.
We've had 7 come up so many times throughout. Well,
we didn't even talk about that.
We've never had it for this, or if we have, I don't remember it. The 7 that usually comes up is usually with the profession or the the bouquet, but I don't remember it being as much with the haiku, and certainly I don't remember it being this.
I don't remember being this one. It's an interesting thing because is this the obelisk?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we've talked about the obelisk before, but like this is such a we didn't even talk about the chakras yet. This is a very different kind of inversion of that idea. It's more, I don't know, it's I would say it's more grounded. It feels more grounded. It feels very much, manifested life, like physicality. And I think, spirituality, that was interesting, the new word there. Spirituality, I think the crown chakra can take us away from daily life, away from grounded living, because, we try to answer questions about the universe and about God and about higher frequencies and our great spirit. And I mean, all these things come up and you can get lost in it. I mean, there's theologians through, countless millennia have gotten lost in the question of the great beyond. But, this intersection is about bringing something of that connection, right? Something of that greatness straight back down to right here, right now. And I think this card really, really emphasizes that. This is bring it back down to this particular moment in time, in physical matter, in incarnate energy. Bring it all the way back down to your physical living body and do something for someone else's physical living body.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain that the profession for this one, I profess that I am a bridge between heaven and earth or something like that. Well, acting like this certainly embodies that sentiment.
Yeah, it's very easy to get lost in the seventh chakra, to kind of float, because the crown chakra in some conceptualizations is actually just above the head. Like it's not actually in the skull, but it's like just above the head. Just like in some conceptions, the root chakra is not actually in the body; it's just below the body. Because the idea is that you're kind of being pulled in these two directions. So yeah, it's easy to get lost up there, and debate morals and ethics and theology and ontology. I like that. Like I can admit that I like that a lot. I like to get thinking about those kind of things. But then there's a homeless guy right next to me as I'm driving, right? Like there's physical realities that come into play in all of this.
Yeah, and I think that's why I have problems with a lot of organized religion, is because it does get into that spiritual space that's floating above and disconnected from what we're actually experiencing, and then all this absolutism slips in, and there's no room for the actual human experience. And so what I like about intersection number 7 is that, yes, you can go and float high above the sky, but guess what? You are still anchored right here. And what you do here will follow you up through into the up and away. So fly away, but be more like a kite. He's down here holding your string, and you can loop to loop and fly and soar and go all over the place, and yet you still have the anchor of the actual person who you want to be.
I like that. I'm getting a lot of buzzy buzz from the deck today. There we go. Okay. There's a lot of energy there, but one of them was like, "This is me." Of course, we're gonna stay with the root chakra. This is the 3 of seeds. Tend the seeds that support the others. 3 of seeds. Tend the seeds that support the others.
So, I know that it probably definitely has its own meaning and its own symbolism, but that just sounds like an extension of what we are already saying. The way that, tending now allows for growth later. And perhaps it's your own seeds, your own ideas, your own projects, or maybe it's your students or your children or whatever works for you in this imagery. But it's, at least initially sounding like a reinforcement of this idea that you do something now and watch those repercussions bloom later.
What I wrote about this one, it is so easy for us to see resources as zero sum, that there isn't enough to go around and that for one to gain, another must lose. But the earth is abundant and the same soil can feed many together. Even creative pursuits of one are influential and aided by the energy of others. Recognize how you have received and how you have in turn given. Support and encouragement, words alone, can inspire plants to grow and thrive. How much more will your community?
Yeah, this is a very Thanksgiving kind of reading. We should hold this one till November. This is a very feel-good reading today so far. Just this constant reiteration of generosity and the cyclicality. Is that a word?
Well, it is now.
It is now. Google it. But the flow of how generosity and kindness and gratitude is a river, and you can't dam it. You can't block it. You have to let it flow. And sometimes you're floating in it, being carried along with it. Sometimes you're the rock and it's washing around you, but it's still motion. It's still the constant stream of energy.
Well, and this card in particular talks about community, like the threes is our community. The way that you do your work, like you used to have unexpected miracles, like you can be intentional about that, and you can support things that support others. And this could be just, comes down to charity. Like if you've only got $20 to give, who do you give it to? Do you give it to the ones that kind of support other groups, or do you try to figure out which one to give it to? Do you give it to the person that knows where it needs to go the most? Like that's kind of an important way to think about this. Mm-hmm. And then tending the seeds that support the others, like there's foundational moments there. There's a generativity to what you're doing, such that if you are helping things grow intentionally, you are helping to establish the future and establish the legacy, but by working way back at the beginning. So, the pizza example, the pizza place didn't know it, but they were sowing seeds that would then in turn grow into farmers who would tend other seeds. Mm-hmm. And it, that when they came together and made the fund, now you're seeding other seeds, like you're tending seeds that grow together, that support one another. And it's also about how you design your garden, right? You have to keep things working together, even in a wild garden, like even in a British wild garden, you still don't plant things that attack each other, right? You don't plant any of the vines. What's that really terrible vine? Kudzu, yeah. You don't plant that in your garden. Mm-mm. You plant things, that support the trees. You plant things that support the plants. You plant trees that don't block all the sunlight from the things below it. Like you plant things that work together. And that, I think, is a really important thing. It's not just like an unexpected miracle. Yes, right. That's great. Go out and do that. But give yourself some purpose, some intention to it, and it becomes something even greater. So yes, go out and do things and give of what you have when you can do it. But also think about, what am I doing? What am I doing? Which is not to say you can't just randomly give a guy on the street $20. Like that's fine. But I think as a society, we need to kind of be more intentional and be like, how do we take that $20 and how do we start to work to solve the problem?
Yeah.
How do we tend seeds to solve? And this may not be your thing, right? That you may not have this energy. Like I was talking to our friend, and she's like, I would like to protest, but I can't. It's just not possible. And that's true. Like not everybody can get out there and stand in front of cars and throw the the smoke bomb back. Like, not everybody can do that. Not everybody has the time. Not everybody has the physical ability. Not everybody has the financial safety, right? So yeah, you may not feel like you can do more than just give that $20, but how do we all work together and how do we make things better? I think this is a kind of a call to come together as a community and take this singular act and think about how can that work together to do something greater than even the parts themselves. What is the synergy of this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was hoping you'd mention the word synergy. Because that definitely sounded like that's what you're building towards. So I'm glad synergy popped right out of your mouth.
Well, yes.
Because you don't have to do all this stuff by yourself.
No.
It's not for you to, as the French would say, you don't have to swallow the entire ocean by yourself.
My boss likes to do the how do you eat an elephant, I think it is.
How what?
How do you eat an elephant?
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. I guess one bite at a time, but I don't want to eat an elephant.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I don't want to eat the elephant. But it's an idea that there's big projects that have to be undertaken, and you have to do it piece by piece, and that's true in this case. The 3 of seeds is just 3 seeds, right? This is not the 10 of seeds, which is a different kind of legacy and generativity and of where you've achieved greatness and have abundance, and you can set up your future generations. This is back near the beginning, right? This is near the start. And what are you planting where? That's what this really is what are you planting where? And as you're because this also implies some weeding. Like, this implies that you're thinning the garden at times, that you're tending things that grow together. You're tending things that work together. And sometimes that means removing things that don't work together. And that's a good personal, like that. You can take that very personally, very individually, but you can also take that as part of your group. Are all of your group going together? And groups change, friends change, your life changes. So it's also a chance to take an inventory and, is that friend from college who's very negative and maybe going off on a different moral direction than you're comfortable with, do you still tend them, right? Do you still give them your energy and your time and your unexpected miracles? Or, is there someone different or better or another seed that you should be working on? I think it's hard. I read another story about someone who kind of had a friend from college, and then they took a left turn, and she tried to be like, okay, I'm going to be open-minded. I'm going to go interact. I'm going to go learn. And she found out that, like, there is no interaction. Like, there is, it's so different. Like, this left turn was so different that she couldn't connect with it. There was nothing to connect with, like that. This person had gone to a place where the only thing that mattered was them and their family and their idea of community, like their in group, and everything else was just fuck all. And that's a hard realization to have happen, but that's the truth, that there are some times where you just none of your energy is going to change some people.
It's an interesting idea. You're talking about the metaphor of the garden. That person was being treated like a weed and got ripped out. And that's probably very difficult when you don't see yourself as the weed. But if you are incompatible, that's real. Sometimes it's hurtful, but now you can put your energy somewhere else.
And the idea that other people, sow seeds in your garden when you're not looking sometimes, or you let them, but then you realize that what they're sowing isn't good for you or good for your garden. And it's okay to remove those. So I hate to make this been like a thin your friend group statement, but I think you have limited energy. Like I have limited time. We've talked about this before. I have limited time. I can only, do so much in any one day. I drive a lot. I drive a lot. And when I get home, I have just a few hours to do anything. Mm-hmm. And everything's competing for that time. And so everyone has that. There's only so much energy. There's only so much wealth. There's only so much abundance. And so many things are going to compete for that. And this is a gentle reminder. This is a gentle statement to say you have safety and it's okay to keep your feet on the ground and feel that garden growing and know what you need to do. So this is an intuition. This is, because we're not the second chakra, we're the first chakra. This is really about just security, safety, rock underneath your feet, solid ground. And you're helping things to grow out of that soil.
Shall I roll?
You shall roll.
I don't know how I did that, but I thought I was going to roll 4 and it did. So we're going all the way over to the haiku deck. I don't know how I did that.
Magic.
Number 29.
Ooh.
So that's going to be up in wood, I think, up in the heart. Or no, it might actually be air. It's the first in the air cycle, air on air. Aqua on aqua, I say, and I say. So the idea here being that when an elemental is intersecting with itself, it's going through itself over and over and over, magnifying itself. Okay? So this is I say as it's impacted by I say. Heaving, writhing winds. Self-inflicted tornadoes. Whirling dervishes. Heaving, writhing winds. Self-inflicted tornadoes. Whirling dervishes.
And those are questions, correct?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. There's some people that tend to go up at the end of their sentences. And I have to, there was a woman presenting and I wanted to just pull her aside and be like, you can be definite. It's okay. You are presenting, you are the expert. It's, that's a whole other thing. Women kind of have been conditioned to do stuff like that. And you have to, so this is, my little message out to you is, be strong in what you say, be strong in what you speak. And here we are with I say, right? So just my little side note there, if
I say times I say squared.
I say squared. If you are the expert, if you are the one delivering the topic, it's okay to be secure in what you say. And there will be people that react badly to that sometimes, but speak truth as truth, not as a question.
Mm-hmm. But in this instance, the reminder is to be careful what you say to begin with, especially if what you say is something that you repeat internally to yourself over and over and over. So if you have a doubtful thought about yourself and it gets reinforced over and over and over, and you say this internally about yourself, or even externally, you say it aloud to other people about yourself, you're reinforcing something that can be very destructive. And the image for this haiku is a tornado, and the way in which air can become devastatingly strong. We have a tendency when we think about the elementals, we have a tendency to think of air as being, oh, it's air. It's like, no, air can be hurricanes. Mm-hmm. Air can be a whole thing unto itself. A lot of the damage, most of the damage that happens in these storms is not from the rain, it's from the wind or the debris by the wind. So you have to be very careful about what you say. The idea that words are meaningless. They're just sounds that we attach meaning to. It's not true. This is the way we as a species have evolved to formulate and express ideas, and they matter. And if it's something that isn't helpful, that gets magnified by repetition, then you have this pattern. It's just going to go around and around and around and around and around. So the reminder here is that you have the ability to tear yourself apart, but you also have the ability to build yourself up. And I'm not suggesting that you speak from a position of arrogance. For me, I distinguish very specifically between arrogance and pride. And for me, let's go with pride first. Pride is self-love or self-value based on truth. And arrogance is self-love based on fear. Or perhaps self-love based on nothing. Mm. So there is a distinction between arrogance and pride. Fill yourself with pride. Just make sure that what you're giving yourself has a foundation upon something that's actually true. Because then you can, to your point, defend what you're saying. If you are the expert. Now, as an expert, you have to know where your blind spots are and recognize that you don't know everything. And if something comes up that you were not aware of, don't let that pride slip into arrogance and be, stubborn about letting something new in. But in general, allow yourself to speak about yourself in particular from a place of pride.
I think, pride is just actively truthful. You are proud because you achieved something. You did it. That's a fact. You achieved it. You did it. You're proud of it. You tell people, hey, I accomplished this thing. This is really cool for me. I'm very proud of it. Arrogance to me is I am better than you because I did this. And some people will take pride as arrogance because they're challenged by your accomplishment or they're challenged by your truth. And they'll be like, well, why are you holding that over me? Well, no, I'm not. I'm just stating a truth.
Just mentioned it.
Yeah, it's just a truth. But, you're not intending to be better than someone because of it.
In terms of the broader reading, in terms of unexpected miracles and kindness and legacies and community and all that, what you say is second only to what you do. So make sure that when you are expressing yourself about whatever these projects and ideas are, that they are true, that you're not conflating with somebody else's ideas because you think it'll sound better, or that you're mimicking something else that you heard somewhere, that you're quoting scripture that you don't actually understand or believe. Speak truthfully. And then when people think about your legacy, they will remember that, okay, this is what's been done. This is what's been left behind. And I remember when they said this about the moment or blah, 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 blah. It is part of your legacy. It's part of the image that you get to leave behind of yourself as this beacon of positivity. It doesn't mean that everything you say has to be happy, happy, joy, joy. That is certainly not what I'm saying. But you definitely can control the degree to which you tear yourself or other people down. You definitely do not have to do that. So it might not be that you speak a lot. It might be that you let your winds just lay very still if there's nothing that needs to be said. Silence has value as well. Just make sure the wind isn't picking up and kicking up and turning into a hurricane. Well, breezes are okay.
you talked about like saying to yourself, I respond to that very strongly. Like I guess they're vocal stems. Like I internally will repeat the same song or the same lyric, the same thought. Like it can get bad. It can get where it's kind of obsessive, compulsive, where it's just rehashing the same thing over and over again. So the idea of that sort of internal tornado, like I feel that very strongly. And I think, yes, your winds need to stay still, but the things that you say to yourself are very powerful. And that's a good reminder here too, that be careful, make sure that you're saying truth to yourself. You know, my spouse, it's our anniversary today, actually 2 years, but my spouse and I, you know, they get stuck sometimes. Something will happen and they just can't let it go. And the only way to overcome it is to speak truth to it. And this happens a lot with anxiety. Mm-hmm. You have to discover it, right? It has to be truthful with you, because it's just a feeling. It's you feel the tornado inside of you. You know that your winds are spinning, but you don't know why sometimes, and you have to discover the truth of it, and then you have to speak truth to it, because oftentimes it's a lie or a misunderstanding or an obsession that isn't valid. And so you have to find truth that you can speak to it to calm it, to still the winds. And as I'm saying this, I feel like I've said this exact same thing before.
Well, so it bears repeating, I guess.
Yeah, I realize that this metaphor I think has come up before, which is fine. Metaphors are wonderful things that repeat. In fact, the entire language, all languages are based on metaphors. It's a great book, Metaphors We Live By. Highly recommend it. If you have any interest in linguistics, you should absolutely read it. And even if you don't have an interest in linguistics, if you'd like to understand a little bit about why up is good and down is bad, you know, it's a very good book. So definitely read it. But yeah, the metaphor that you inhabit, like the metaphors, the deep metaphors in your core and your soul that you use to define yourself, and that swirling tornado. So as much as you need to watch what you say, you also need to watch what you say to yourself. Ready for another card?
Yeah. Pick a card.
Pick a card, any card. It's never true. They force you to pick a card. Don't believe them.
Pick any card. This card. Pick
this card. Oh, okay. So we've got the third chakra here. This is the 8 of Flames. Flames are just energy waiting to be harnessed. Flames are just energy waiting to be harvested.
Harvest or harnessed?
Harvest. Harnessed.
Flames are just energy waiting to be harnessed.
Yes.
Interesting. So it reminds me of a card in my deck that effectively says that you have to actually do in the world what you are envisioning, because otherwise it might just be a good idea, but if you don't do anything with it, it doesn't get to have a manifest benefit in the world. So flame has all this capacity. It can heat water, so you can cook. You can burn wood, so you can stay warm. It can be used on lawns to get rid of weed seed in the lawn. You can use fire for all sorts of stuff. You can use it to heat up water to make a train run. There's so many uses for fire plus water, and fire plus other elementals as well. But that's just it. If it's just a flame, and it's putting out light and it's putting out heat, but what is it actually doing? The mantra for the third chakra in my system is I do. Is that similar to yours?
Yes. I tend to be a little bit more creativity and generativity with it, but it's definitely action. Like it's the core of the body. It's where all movement comes from. So
the fire is definitely burning. You're alive. Here it is. You're thinking, you're acting, but to what end? And if you don't have a sense of direction, I would kindly refer you back to the contextualization card. If your energy is free and you don't know what to do with it, do something kind with it.
Well, the 3 of Flames, actually, it's funny. The 3 of Flames, the 3 of Wands in the tarot is about finding a direction, about setting stakes out in the ground and following them. So that's an interesting, like in the tarot and in mine by association, the flames are about direction. The two of wands, the two of flames is about which way should I go. So there's a very directional sense. What I wrote about this is we are all on a journey, and you know that. You can sense that your energy, your spark yearns for something, yearns to be used for something. Purpose can be small or it can be cosmic. Purpose can be anything that gives your flames a focus, a target. All that heat inside us is energy waiting to be used. How will you use it? What purpose will you set for yourself? Power is useful. Without it, nothing can be accomplished. From the basic level of a star giving light to planets, or the body needing small flames of chemical reactions to move and be alive, all that we see is energy being exchanged and used. But power is also dangerous. It feels like you always need a little more. There's always something more you could do if only you had some more power. Even the best and biggest battery will be dead in time.
Yeah, so think about that as you're building your legacy.
Well, you have I do. I have, power, direction, journey. We both kind of talked about how that's necessary. I think this is also, for me, this is where you go from just using fire, right? Like we had fire for a while as humans. That was great. Fire was great.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens when we put it in a kiln or a furnace? Like what happens when we double it back on itself? What happens when we, the heat of wood burning is one temperature, but what's the heat of coal burning? And then what happens when we take that coal and we surround it and shield it and, create more and more intensity? So that, to me, this is the transition from just using matches and flaming wands to actually harnessing the true power of heat and flame.
Yeah, all the way up to the nuclear level,
mm-hmm.
or all the way down to the nuclear level,
and being able to contain it for a purpose, contain it for a journey or a creative act. And I think this is the moment where your creativity really sparks. All right, this is the moment you sit down to the book. This is the moment you pull out the paint. This is the moment that you begin to move and choreograph. So I do, it really does fit, especially this card.
And this is when you set up the 501c3 for the cat house.
Yes.
It's whatever your goodness calls you to do, but that energy has to be directed somewhere. So it might as well be directed towards this kindness and legacy of miracles and just be nice. Use your power for good.
And flames hurt too. Like that's another part of the card. I think the 7 of flames, the 7 of wands, is the idea that other people's flames can burn you, but that's okay. Like and I think the 9 of flames might be that if you work with fire, you're going to get burned. Like, it's going to happen. So, there's a danger to action, right? It can come back on you. Other people's actions can come to you, right? Like there's
consequence. Sure.
There's fire out there, and it's exchanged, and sometimes you pick it up wrong or hold it at the wrong angle, and boom, you've got to burn.
So you take action. It doesn't mean you're going to be perfect. It doesn't mean that the outcome will be exactly as you planned. You might have to try a couple of times, but the attempt matters. The improvement matters. Eventually, you'll have refined whatever it is that you're doing so it actually is ready for public consumption or public benefit, or your family, or whatever it is this kindness is for. You can't expect everyone to understand everything you're doing. Some people might feel burned by what you do, but you learn, you adjust, you adapt. Because a legacy takes a long time to build. It's not something you just do in one moment. I can think of, you want to take the metaphor really, really literally. I mean, how many times do you sometimes have to strike a match before it actually ignites? Mm-hmm. You don't have to worry about being perfect. You have to worry about being good and being considerate of what you're doing and how it impacts other people. And if there will be people who are harmed by what you're doing, you know, I don't want to be a Klingon here, but then, or a Vulcan, you know, talking about the good of the many versus the bad of the one, or whatever that is. Everything's going to have consequences you can't manage, but at least try to consider and understand them so that you can adjust and be as close to your ideal as possible. But you are human. It likely will not be perfect. It will take time to develop, and yet it is still worth doing.
It's interesting you brought up the Vulcans, because I had several conversations this week that all worked around culture and fit, and how sometimes people burn the wrong way. And when you're forming a team, you need everyone, you know, kind of working in the same direction, right? If you have a loose cannon, right, a loose flame, that's very dangerous. And going back to the Three of Seeds, you know, there it's just seeds and it's growth, and, you know, it's a little bit safer. But here we're with fire, and fire safety is, you know, hugely impactful. One spark can light a blaze that is dangerous. And, you know, we've seen this in forest fires, right? Some forest fires are good, some forest fires are devastating. And, you know, things need to burn away and be removed. That's a good thing. That actually helps the forest. But then sometimes it just, you know, it burns everything, and it's devastating. And the trick is, where was the spark, right? Where did it happen? Was it intentional? Was it non-intentional? There's a sense to this, I think, this reading, that your energy, your time, your abundance, whatever it is, has to be given in the right way. I think there's just an overlying thing of, be careful where you're doing this, how you're doing this, what your attention is for this, because, you know, flames are just energy. They'll go wherever, and they'll burn themselves out. And this can happen, I think, to you. You can be as great a gardener as you want to be, but if you burn out, right, if you spend too much energy doing the wrong thing, then the garden suffers.
You also need to be mindful of whether or not you're presuming that what you're trying to do is good for everybody, and that they'll even want it. So there's a story about, I think it's Julia Roberts and Richard Gere. And when they divorced, somebody interviewed her and asked her why she filed for divorce. And she said, because he kept bringing me breakfast in bed. And at first that's kind of like, why? Why would you do that? It's like, well, I'm not hungry in the morning. I don't want breakfast in bed. I don't want to eat as soon as I wake up. And, you know, he would bring her green tea, and she's like, I hate green tea. So he was trying to be kind, but she took it as an imposition because it's not what she needed or wanted. So be careful that your kindness isn't forced upon someone. Your actions, although meant to be kindness, might be suffocating. So just be mindful. Like I said earlier, just think about what it is you're doing, why it matters, and who's going to be affected and how.
Like if you're depressed, you don't really want the manic pixie dream girl in that moment. You need something a little softer. You need something a little bit calmer, and you need something that isn't going to try to fix you, because, you know, you can't just drag a depressed person outside and make them better. Sometimes that will help. Absolutely. There are definitely times where you need to get out of the house. You know, you've cocooned inside and you need the sun, right? That situation can exist, but you can't just run in with everyone and be a bright flaming ball of light. You're going to burn them sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you need to meet people where they are, and, you know, get them what they need. Get them what they need in that moment.
Sometimes what they need in that moment is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Shall I roll?
You should roll.
Did we integrate that into the broader? Yeah, we did. We integrated that into the broader reading. Yeah. Okay, number 2. We're going to have a literal profession. And it's going to be number 3. You brought up kilns a little bit ago.
I did.
And this is the kiln in my deck. So this is where earth meets fire, where I am meets I do. The way in which your sense of stability, health, wellness, identity, safety, how all that's impacted by what you do, the actions you take, the decisions you make. I profess that I am the architect who builds my life. I profess that I am the architect who builds my life.
Yeah.
In the book, the picture that goes along with that is a kiln, and the haiku that goes along with it is also talking about mason set your bricks and things like that. So it's definitely about taking the raw material of yourself and making something out of that, doing something with your actual self.
So we will talk about this in the members only version of the podcast. Just remind me the earth and third chakras, and I'll get into it there. But yes, architects of your life. Yeah, we've come there. We started with outwardness, but there was always this inward bent for what we were talking about, because what you give out is shaped by who you are. And that's because a lot of what we do, most of what we do is reaction. Most of what we do is unconscious or reactive conscious. And, it's who we smile at and who we nod at and who we talk to and who we say good day to and how we approach a situation and what what face we're pulling when we're on camera for this meeting. A lot of what we do is not consciously chosen. A lot of what we do is just based on who we are at our core and how we have been trained, or I was going to say beguiled, but that's kind of a loaded word, but how we've come to learn to interact with the world. And that's our core. That's what drives most of our behavior.
The reading opened with earth touching ether, root touching crown. And now here we're ending with root touching solar plexus. The way I'm feeling this right now is that the card is reminding you that you have to actually become the person who can accomplish what your goal is. So this concept of yourself that we got from the first card, being the person who performs unexpected miracles, who does kindness, who leaves legacies. Okay, this last card is now reminding you that you actually have to be the person who can do it. You are the architect who builds your life. And if you want to live a life of abundance and kindness and legacy, you have to be the person who can live that life. It's not something to just be aspirational about. It's something that you have to actually embody. And there will be ways in which you must grow and improve as a person in order to meet those ideals so that you can carry out these tasks with other people. So this entire reading feels like a reminder that you are capable of whatever your ideal is. You might need to define precisely what it is you have to do to position yourself to accomplish it, but you are full of the capacity for joy and generosity, and you do have the capacity to be someone's miracle. You just have to figure out who that person is and what steps you have to take to be that person who can then fulfill these other functions.
architect is a good word here, because our childhood is, we're not architects when we're children. And this is why you can't blame yourself for the things that happen to you. I think that's why I was saying beguiled, because you can't choose your parents, you can't choose the situation in which you were born into, and you don't choose the marks that leaves. And sometimes that's trauma, sometimes it's not trauma, it's just generational things. Like, you don't choose those things, they just happen and you're there and you live it. But then
sorry, go ahead.
Then you become an adult, and now you do have choices. You can heal, you can change, you can recontextualize. Like, there's things that you can do to interact with these things that shaped you when you were younger.
I was going to say that when you're young, you're the bricks. When you age, you're the architect. And architects can remodel houses. They can do all sorts of stuff. Mm-hmm. They can work wonders with materials. So even if it feels like your bricks are just left in a pile everywhere, you can find something beautiful to do with them. You are the stuff of eternity. And you can be at this time, in this place with all of our advantages and technology, you have the ability to succeed at making yourself who you want to be, both in body and spirit and action.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have the ability to recreate, and we've talked about that before, but your root metaphors, they're not stationary either. They're not set in stone. You can recontextualize them, re-narrate them, recreate them. You can affect things at a very basic level. We are forever creating ourselves again and again. Memories change, feelings change. At any one time, we're a different creature than we were before. And that's why I hate cancellation, because it acts like you are what you are and you'll never change. And that's completely untrue. I'm so vastly different than I was 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I'm a different person, and I live a different life.
Well, cancel culture tends to respond to a specific moment and doesn't take into account everything that came before that moment. And then, to your point, acts like there's nothing that will come after that moment. It fossilizes one specific tweet, one specific comment, one specific picture without the broader context of who this person is. So you have to be careful about presuming that people will not evolve.
Or didn't. I mean, I'm thinking of Jenna Marbles, because that's my spouse loves Jenna Marbles. And she was a product of that time on YouTube. And there was a lot of people who were doing things that were not well informed. And, you know, they didn't understand some of the microaggressions and, you know, some of the maybe racist themes that they were playing into unconsciously. They were just responding to the community at the time. And Jenna learned. She was like, oh shit, like she did that, and then a couple of years went by and there were some criticisms, and she was like, oh shit, I hear you. That wasn't the thing. She took stuff down. She made videos, you know, sort of owning her ignorance and apologizing for her actions that came out of that ignorance. And you know, she became a different person, and then it was rediscovered, right? And everything, and this is liberals eating their own, you know, is piled on. And she was like, I can't do this anymore, and left a public life. And it's traumatic because she was different. Like, yes, she did something bad. she recognized it. She changed. She evolved. She became a different human being. But there was a bad, right? And don't do this to yourself. I think, without kind of going too far into cancel culture and things like that. Don't do this to yourself. Don't cancel yourself. Don't base your whole self-image off of one thing or one phase that you regret or feel shame for, because that's the third chakra is shame as well. That's what closes and affects the energy of the third chakra is shame, and shame is I am bad. Don't let a moment or two or a phase define all of who you are. You can be different. You can change. You will. I forget one of my cards. I forget the exact number. I think it's 10. This will change. You can be sure of that.
Mm-hmm. That sounds familiar.
That's absolutely, this will change. And by your own hands, it will change. We have a members-only version of the podcast. It's patreon.com/DeanSageMedia. You can get longer episodes where we talk about how the reading affects us or how we understood the reading as it applies to us directly. We do have a YouTube. It's Show Your Deck on YouTube. You can see the pretty cards that we've made in full color. Our books and our decks are available at showyourdeck.com. My books are available through Amazon, both Kindle Unlimited and in hardback and print. And Jack's books are available through Jack directly. Our decks are available through a third-party distributor. Jack, where can we find you?
I'm at 49 Haiku. That's the number 4, the number 9, HAIKU. On Instagram, that would be at 49 Haiku. And on the intrawebses, that is 49haiku.com.
I am Dean Sage Media. Find me if you dare. We do have a show, Instagram. It's at your deck. And we will say goodbye.